Now, over those 14 years, things must have evolved somewhat. How was the food and beverage program when you arrived here?
Well, see, I had the blessing, right? Jason Rosso was the chef who opened this place. And Peter Trukowski, I don't know if I said that right, but he was the restaurant manager. And those two were here for about 3.5, 4 years. And they set the standard. Like, I mean, I walked into a place that was already fantastic, you know, which is awesome because I didn't have to reinvent anything. I could just take it on its evolution. So, Peter left right just as I was leaving. So it was a complete change of, management front and back of house. But when I first got here, I mean, we had the restaurant, which was always focused on a really fine dining a la carte environment. Tasting menus were present, but never, like every restaurant I ever worked, tasting menus are always there as the chef's toy.
Yes,
we get to play. And if you get 10% of your guests taking it, then you're doing well, because everybody else is coming for a la carte, but you get to, and I was going to say sucker in, but it's not sucker in, it's romance in.
Of course, yeah.
To that 2-3 hour experience. But we also had some corporate spaces we did upstairs. We never really did dinners in the barrel cell at that time. We had a nice wine library down there. And the thing for me, I've always looked at spaces and said, like, well, this is a really cool room, but do people want to be out there? So we started doing dinners in the barrel cellar, And even with the restaurant, we started to kind of focus more on surprise menus. While I was here, I've always done doing stages, and I did a stage with Gordon Ramsay in New York City, and one of the things I liked with that was a lot of these places that are doing the unscripted menu, where you literally sit down, and what I thought from a wine point of view is, the Chardonnay glass comes out, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, I wonder what they're going to serve with that, and I like that kind of drama and that. So we brought that into the kitchen here, and what we did is we actually went to unscripted menus.
So like a trust me type of menu, yes.
Sit down, let the kitchen take care of things. And for almost 12 years, we were selling, I bet you we were about 60% of our customers were doing tasting menus.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. We became a tasting menu restaurant. And I love that because I think that people, what that tells me is they've come here for an experience and they're happy to let us take care of it. Which is a huge, kind of burden to take too, because you don't want to mess it up. But with that, one of the things I also learned from my travels of working in Michelin stars was when you get a Michelin star, you don't change the menu. You hang on to that, you hunker down.
Yeah, because people are coming for that.
Right, but I mean, that's the same menu that when I worked there 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So the big thing I wanted to do when I became a chef was menu should evolve. So we really looked to our local environment and looked to the farms and looked to the, to kind of pull the ingredients in and be seasonal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes. Yeah.
And it's funny because people always ask me what's my favorite wine, and I say it depends on the time of year.
Of course. Now, speaking of time of year and doing things seasonally, we obviously have challenges when it comes to what you're going to be putting onto the plate at this time of year in the winter.
Yeah.
What do you do?
You have to get really creative, but I have kind of it's funny because at one point I was so strict on myself with the regionality that we wouldn't even allow lemons in this kitchen.
Right.
Like if it wasn't grown in Canada, forget it.
Do you still?
Last time we did we are Feast on designated, which I'm very proud of, and Ontario ingredients, I believe we were 55 to 60%, I think it was, okay. And we are like 90 to 95% Canadian. Which at one point I think we were pushing like 98, 90. Yeah, but I've said to ourselves, I don't want to have to, completely, tie our hands here to give our customers great meals. So sometimes we'll do preserved lemon and things like that. But the one thing we try to do is extend the summer into preserving as well. We'll preserve a lot of peaches or, things that we can use in the wintertime. Mm-hmm. But I also change the style of the food. I was just showing you earlier, but we do in the wintertime a lot of braising, a lot of heavier food. So we've got like a bison ossobuco that we did on Saturday night for ice wine dinner. So to me, that is Brussels sprouts, it's turnips, it's parsnips, it's cassis berries, and all these winter kind of flavors that you can still get. Yeah, we don't have the beautiful fresh vine-ripened tomatoes, but there's other ways to get around it. So we do really focus on those winter flavors. And what's great is, when it becomes asparagus season or when it becomes strawberry season, it's almost like we haven't had it for so long, so we're back into kids in candy land and we're playing, and the menu is better for it. So yeah.
Over these 14 years here, you've seen many a trend come and go. How do the general trends when it comes to cuisine affect you out here at Peller Estates?
You know, I'm really, really lucky because I'm kind of removed. We're an hour and 15 minutes away from Toronto, close enough to come visit, but far enough away to not get sucked into all the different trends, you know. And I think also being a winery, our trend is wine, you know, and I mean, that's what it is. I think that the trends that have changed for us is, you know, that unscripted menu that I was talking about, we did that for almost 12, 13 years. Well, in the past 6 months, we've taken a little bit of a change here, you know, and I think people are actually also looking to dine differently. They're more educated. They know more about the food. And so in the past, now what we're doing is we're doing an a la carte menu. And then we also do a tasting menu, but it's actually pulled from the a la carte.
Right.
So now what you've got is you've got people that are coming here that can write their own tasting menu from the menu, or they can kind of say, this is what we've created for you. And I find that because people are more educated, it's working really well, you know. But also, I think the trends is at one point, I remember seeing a list come out in Toronto, and I think it was top 10 restaurants in Toronto, and I think 3 of them had linen on the table. You know, the big wooden butcher block tables and more casual, you know. And I remember 2-3 years ago, we were like, okay, how are we going to address this? You know, are we going to stay this fine dining, white, crisp linen? And my biggest fear was, I remember going back to my apprenticeship, but there was a restaurant in Cambridge, and I won't name names because it's probably not there anymore, but it was the place that you would go and get crepes Suzette,
yes.
You know. And everyone used to be on, it's the dinosaur, it's the antique, you know. If you wanted that, you could go, but it wasn't for the mainstream. I never ever wanted to become that. I always wanted to make sure that we're staying current and fresh.
Yeah.
But what we decided was, we said, you know what, no, let's stay true to what Peller is. You know, our wines here at the winery are premium wines. I mean, they're world renowned, and our cuisine should be the same. So what we did is we actually opened up a secondary summer restaurant that is more casual. You know, we still make everything in house. We do our own burgers and things like that, pulled pork and brisket. But then we actually took lunch and elevated it to almost the same as dinner. So now we have this formal dining area that you can have for lunch and dinner, or you can go out and have casual as well.
And that opens up your demographic that will be dining with you as well, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And what I've always loved is, when I say formal, I always get worried saying that, because the great thing about wine country is, we have people that come here that are in suits and dresses, and they're out to explore wine country, and they're, you know, we have other people showing up in bike shorts and a t-shirt, and they're doing the same thing, you know. And so our restaurant has always been, what do we call it? It's like wine country, but it's approachable. You know, our staff are very knowledgeable about our wines. They will tend to every need you have at that table, but they won't be stuffy, they won't be over the top. And if you don't know anything about wine, they're going to share knowledge with you, but they're going to share knowledge appropriate to what you want to learn. You know, they're not going to bombard you with all these technical terms. And yet, if you're a wine connoisseur, they have that knowledge to have that conversation as well. So, yeah, it's cool.
One last question for you. With you having so much of your menu being Canadian sourced, it's a tricky question, but I like to ask many chefs this. What is Canadian cuisine to you?
Look at my menu and I'll tell you that's what it is.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. You know, it's actually an awesome question. And I'm going to take the words from Ned Bell, because I saw him say this, and I've actually repeated it a few times. But I love the word where it says, globally inspired, but locally driven.
Right.
You know, and the thing for me is, I am blessed with the luxury of traveling quite a lot. You know, I've been, recently we were actually cooking for Canada in Dubai, but I've been in Morocco and what I try to do in my travels is I try to take techniques and still even some ingredients. I took some amazing curry spice from Dubai and some paprikas from Hungary, but I'll bring them back. And I'll look at our local ingredients, like our Ontario lambs and our, Ontario beef and things like that, and we'll actually morph that together. And I think that's what Canadian cuisine is taking advantage of the farm and the table and what's going on around you, but also embracing the cultures of all the multicultural that we have. You know, don't be afraid to add in a bit of spices or a bit of, Italian, Greek, whatever it might be, because I think that makes your menus more complex. You have to be careful to keep it balanced. Your menu can't be a little all over the place, but I think if you keep it rooted in local ingredients and the wine, you can play a lot.
Well, Chef, thank you very much for spending time with us at Good Food Revolution today for this very much in-depth interview about your background and what you're up to today. And we look forward to seeing you again sometime very soon.
Thank you.
Bye for now.